Hello everyone, I'm Heather. Thanks for joining me for today's video. A lot of the ideas for my videos come from questions that I get from viewers like you. And sometimes when we have gaps of time between trips, I'll make a video like this one where I answer a viewer's question and kind of expand on it a little bit to help as many people as possible. So today's video comes from a question that I got from a viewer on a video from our trip that we took in March 2024 to Washington, D.C. And they specifically asked about my daughter Megan's shoes that she was wearing. So that gave me the idea that shoes is something really important for travel. When people ask me, what's something that you absolutely must have when you travel? One of the things I always say is like your passport, money or a means to pay for things. These days, probably your cell phone because a lot of stuff is going to be on there that you need, and comfortable shoes for walking. And those are the things that I always say, and shoes are really important. In today's video, I'm going to actually show you the shoes that we currently have. Now, we do replace our shoes quite regularly because when you walk a lot, and especially when you walk a lot while traveling, your shoes are going to get worn out pretty quick. So keep in mind that the shoes that I show you today are just the ones that we happen to own right now as of June 2024. A second thing that people who know me well know that I always say is that one area where you should never skimp on things is anything that separates you from the ground. And what I mean by this, there's actually 3 specific things that I mean by this that you should spend as much as you can possibly afford to get the best product that you can, okay? There's 3 areas where I really feel strongly about this. One of them is shoes. Second one is mattresses. You spend over half your life sleeping in your bed. You want to have a good mattress. It can cause a lot of health problems and pain if you don't have a good mattress. And the third one is tires for your car. I will not skimp on tires. The tires I have are really good tires and they last a long time. So those 3 things I've always felt really strongly about. It's very important to try to spend as much as you can afford to get good quality tires, mattresses, and shoes. And when you're traveling and you're walking a lot, it's really important to have really good quality shoes. So that brings me to the first thing I'm going to talk about in this video, which is what kind of shoes do I not recommend? So just broadly, these are the type of shoes, no matter what kind of trip you're going on, that I do not recommend that you wear in some cases at all, but especially when you're traveling, okay? The first one is something I already kind of alluded to, and that is very old, worn out shoes. If your shoes have holes in them, if the soles have really worn down so that they're completely smooth, they don't have any cushioning anymore in the sole of the shoe, you know, anything like that, those are not good shoes to wear when you're traveling. You don't want to wear something like that. The only time I would recommend wearing shoes like that at all is if you're going to be doing something really filthy, like, you know, you're traipsing through mud or you're painting your house or something like that, where the shoes are going to get completely trashed and you're going to end up throwing them away right afterwards. Okay, that's the only time I would recommend wearing shoes like that. I do not recommend wearing old, worn out shoes when you travel. The other kind of shoes I do not recommend you wear ever, maybe the beach, the pool, your college dorm shower. Okay, these are the only times I would say you would recommend these. I would recommend these shoes, and that's flip-flops. Flip-flops are cheap. Flip-flops are totally non-supportive shoes. They do nothing to protect your feet. Okay, doctors will tell you, podiatrists will scream at you, do not wear flip-flops when you travel. When I see people wearing flip-flops at Disney World, I just want to scream. Flip-flops are so bad for your feet, and there's so many things that can go wrong and so many ways your feet can be in pain if you wear flip-flops. I do not recommend you wear flip-flops when you travel. Closely related is Crocs. I've never actually worn a pair of Crocs, so I don't know how comfortable they are. And I do see the benefit of them because, like, in a wet environment, like, say, Disney World when it rains a lot, because of the material they're made out of and the fact they have holes in them and stuff, they might actually be good for that. But somebody tell me down in the comments, if you've worn Crocs, like to Disney World or something, how much support do they have and how much cushioning do they have? Now, I have to give you a little warning about Crocs. There was an issue with, like, kids wearing Crocs on escalators and it actually being dangerous and causing, I don't even know what happened. They get caught in the escalator mechanism or something. And also, you know, any kind of shoe where it can just fall off like that, where it's just a slide or, you know, a clog or something like that where the shoe isn't being held onto your foot, I think that that's kind of dangerous from a safety standpoint because you don't want your shoes just falling off. And especially when you're going on rides, you know, you don't want it dropping to the ground or stuff like that. So I always recommend that your shoe has some kind of a back to it. Which brings me to sandals. Sandals I don't necessarily recommend if you're doing a lot of walking. However, there are some really good high quality sandals out there that are designed to be walked in a lot. And those I would say are fine. And I would especially say that those would be good at some place like Disney World or in a tropical environment where it's going to rain a lot and you don't want to have socks on, or you want to have something to change into, like if you're wearing shoes and socks, but then it starts raining, you want to have your sandals. That can actually be a good idea. We do have some good sandals I'll show you in a minute. Otherwise, sandals, of course, are obviously great for going to the beach, going to the pool. You know, if you're doing just a little bit of walking around in a hotter climate or something in summertime. But again, I would spring for a higher quality pair of sandals and make sure they have a strap around the heel. Which brings me to another type of shoes I would not suggest you wear when you're traveling, and that's heels. High heels are not a good idea when you're traveling. Now, you might have a special occasion. Maybe you're traveling to go to a friend's wedding, or maybe you're going to a ball, I don't know, or you're going on a cruise where there is a formal night and you have heels that go with your formal dress that you're going to wear, or something like that. In that case, sure, bring them along, but don't have them as like your main shoes that you're going to be wearing all the time and walking a whole bunch, because heels, again, are terrible for your feet. And then the last type of shoe that I would say I really don't recommend for traveling is just anything that isn't comfortable. If it bothers you, if it's too tight, if it's too small, if it gives you blisters, if, you know, there's just something about that one pair of shoes that you have that is never really felt right, don't wear it, because it's only going to be aggravated more when you're traveling, and it's going to bother you and it's going to cause you pain to your feet. So that's another type of shoe that I would say you should not wear when you're traveling. Okay, second thing. It's very important to have, in certain situations or for certain activities, to have the proper footwear. What do I mean by this? For example, we live in Wisconsin where there's a lot of snow. Not this last winter, but usually we get a lot of snow. So we all own snow boots. Okay, it's important to have snow boots. So for example, if you're going on a trip to a very snowy environment, or you're going skiing, or something like that, you need to have the correct boots. You need to have ski boots or snow boots or something to keep your feet warm and properly protected for that environment. Another example would be hiking boots. If you're going to be hiking through the mountains, like we did a few years ago in Colorado, we all had hiking boots that are specifically designed with a good tread, and they protect your ankles and all of that. That's something that you would want to invest in. I will warn you though, one big drawback to boots with travel is they take up a lot of space. So if you have to pack boots, that's going to be a major chunk of space in your suitcase. If you can somehow travel with the boots on your feet, like for a flight or whatever, and then have the smaller shoes in your suitcase, that might be a good solution there. But yeah, boots can be a challenge for packing, just from a space standpoint. Another example is water shoes. If you're going to be going to the beach and it's going to be kind of rocky, maybe it's not really a soft sandy beach, or maybe you're going to have to walk on hot pavement. For the walking on the hot pavement or walking on hot sand, your sandals will be good. But if you want to be able to like go right into the water and stuff, water shoes are great. So if you can have a pair of water shoes, we also recommend wearing water shoes at water parks, because sometimes you have to go, if it's an outdoor water park, there might be hot pavement that you have to walk on, or just from climbing all the stairs and everything, your feet can start to hurt if you don't have anything on them, and they will not let you wear sandals on water slides in most cases. Your feet have to be bare. So they'll let you wear water shoes, but they won't let you wear sandals. There's been times that we've been on the top of a cruise ship and that deck is so hot you can't not have something on your feet. And so like even just to get up to the top of the slide or whatever from your lounge chair, you're going to need something on your feet to protect them. So water shoes can be really good in that situation. Another specific situation where the type of shoe you wear is important is if you're playing a specific sport. Like for example, when my son Andrew played on the soccer team, he had to have soccer cleats. Both my boys played tennis, they have specific tennis shoes that are designed for tennis. There's even pickleball shoes, you know, so if you're playing a specific sport, if it's just something casual, like you're doing a quick game of pickleball on a cruise ship or something, you can just wear the regular other athletic shoes that you wear all the time, walking or running shoes. But if you're going to be playing a sport pretty regularly, or you're on a team or something like that, or it's competitive, then you really want to have the appropriate type of shoe for that activity. So that's kind of an overview of what I do and do not recommend in general for shoes. And now let me show you my shoes. Okay, so first of all, I have to tell you that I do have some problems with my feet and ankles. I have a history of Morton's neuromas in both feet. I did originally have very narrow feet. I also have really long, skinny kind of toes. I developed Morton's neuromas in both of my feet, probably about 15 years ago or so. If you have ever had these, you'll know what I'm talking about. It feels like you're always stepping on a rock. It hurts around the ball of your foot on the bottom, and it can be really painful. And what it is the metatarsal bones in your feet have pushed together too much and have irritated the nerve between your metatarsal bones, and that nerve is inflamed. Now, there's treatments you can do and some simple things you can do on your own. The number one thing that's really a good idea is to always wear shoes with as wide of a toe box as possible. What I mean by that is, here's my shoe. This part right here, where the joint that connects your toe to the main part of your foot is, that part of your shoe, you want this to be as wide as you can so that you don't develop neuromas, or if you have neuromas, that it kind of helps them not to be so bad. But then if you've developed neuromas and they're just really bothersome, the main thing that the doctor will do for you, a podiatrist will do for you, is give you injections of cortisone or steroids into your feet. And I had that for a few years, but there's a maximum amount of that they can give you, was 3 or 4 injections a year. The injection itself is not fun. It does help. If they're really bad, you might reach a point where it doesn't help anymore, and then they might recommend surgery. Now, my podiatrist would never do surgery on me for a couple of reasons. One is I'm a redhead. You may have heard this, and if you're a redhead, you've probably heard this. We have some certain things about us as redheads that make certain medical things difficult or impossible. One is that pain medication, especially like for a surgery or something like that, we tend to need a lot more anesthesia. When I get my teeth, if I have to have a cavity filled or something, the dentist has to give me repeated additional injections of Novocaine because I can feel everything she's doing and I have nerve pain. And she was not surprised by that at all. She's like, nope, that's totally a redhead thing. She explained that it was something about the metabolism of redheads and the way we metabolize things, that we just need more pain relief. So that also came up like when I was in childbirth, things like that. So that was one reason. And my podiatrist told me that redheads have a history of having more likelihood to have post-surgical wound complications, like in healing. So he did not want to do the surgery on me to remove those neuromas because I was a redhead. And then the other reason was because I was a single mom with young kids. And I would have to literally stay completely off my feet for weeks, months. And he's like, there's no way you're going to be able to do that. And he's right. So I never did have surgery for my neuromas. What he ended up doing was injecting basically like chemotherapy drugs into my feet. Again, it was a series of injections. I think it was like 8 in each foot. And it killed the nerve. So it actually like made the nerve so it wouldn't feel anything anymore. But it didn't seem to completely work. So I still do get a little bit of bothersome neuroma pain in each foot once in a while. But I've really kind of solved that by wearing the right shoes. So I don't wear anything too narrow, and I make sure all my shoes have a lot of cushioning. So that's something that's really important. Okay, the other thing I have, if you've been following my channel for a while, is December 2020, I fell down our concrete basement stairs and fractured both my ankles. The left one healed up fine. The right one, it turned out, we found out later from a later MRI about 5 months later, I had torn multiple ligaments in my ankle that have never properly healed. I never had surgery. Again, thinking back on it, I think the reason they probably had surgery is they knew I couldn't do the recovery and the redhead thing again. So I never did have surgery to repair it. I probably should have had surgery right away, but he didn't realize that all those things were wrong. I tore my anterior tibiofibular ligament. I tore my posterior tibiofibular ligament. I ruptured my syndesmosis. I tore something else. I can't remember, but it's a mess. So my right ankle is a mess. However, my right ankle now, 4 years later, is pretty much back to normal. I do still get some pain, but I don't really get any swelling anymore unless I really overdo it with the walking. So I have to be particularly careful with my footwear because of these things. Okay, so you might have a physical or medical condition that affects what you wear on your feet too. Okay, so that brings me to one thing. When we moved into our house where we live now, we decided we were not going to allow shoes in the house to help with cleanliness. So I'm going to show you that in a minute, but I still wear shoes in the house, but I wear a specific pair of shoes, these, in the house. I've had others. Or we wear slippers. The kids always have slippers on. I always have either a pair of slippers on or these, okay? You can see the sole of these is really clean, okay? Because I only wear these in the house. I never wear these shoes outside. I always have a pair of my indoor shoes that I only wear inside. So it's not always this pair. This is the pair that I have right now. These are New Balance, and they're the Roev. They have like gel or foam or something in the sole. So they're nice and cushy. And this is kind of sort of a slip-on heel. You can still tie them to adjust for the tightness in the front. But I can step into these pretty easily. And then they just barely need a little pull. Sometimes I just have to kind of reach down there and pull the little heel part out of the way to get my heel in. So they're really nice for walking around the house. I have 2 pairs of these. I have these that I only wear in the house, and I have another pair because I liked these so much that are black that I wear for the airport. Other than that, though, we only wear slippers in the house. So we have specific shoes that we like to have for specific things, and I'll kind of show you what they are. Okay, so come along with me and I'll show you all the shoes. All right, so first of all, I have 2 pairs of slippers. They're deer foams. I like deer foams a lot. You can find these at Kohl's, sometimes at Target, places like that. This is my barefoot pair. So, see, we're really finicky about our feet. So when I am barefooted, like going to the shower and stuff like that, I wear this pair. And when I have socks on my feet and I want to walk around in my slippers, I wear this pair. Does anybody else like this? Ben has the same thing. He has a barefoot pair and a sock pair. So I have 2 pairs of slippers. Meg does too. All right. I'm going into the closet. All right, here's my shoe rack in my closet. Okay, so you'll see on the top, I have 3 pairs of sandals. Okay. This is a fairly cheapish pair of sandals. You know, these are nothing special. They're very, very lightweight, which is why I like them. I tend to wear these with all of my summer dresses on cruises because they look cute, okay? This is a higher quality pair of sandals. These are Land's End, okay? I've had these quite a while, but these are the ones I wear like to the pool. So if I'm going to the pool or I'm going to the beach, I wear these. Again, very lightweight, easy to slip on, don't require any buckles or anything like that, but sturdy and have a good tread to them. Okay, and then these are a closed toe pair of sandals. So if I ever wanted to walk more, or, you know, maybe if I did want sandals like walking around Disney World or something, I have these. These are also Land's End. They have a Velcro strap so I can adjust the heel. But again, this is what I was saying. You want to have something around your heel so they don't fall off. And as you can see, all 3 pairs of sandals that I have here have that. Okay, now these are like a basic, you know, these are Eastland's. Nice quality pair of like leather brown loafers that I'd wear like if you work in an office or whatever. So I would wear these teaching. things like that. I don't necessarily ever wear these traveling. These are Skechers Arch Comfort. I really like these, and I was using these as my, you can see the soles are completely clean. I was using these as my indoor house shoes, but I wanted something I could slip on and didn't have to tie. So I switched to the ones that I'm wearing now. Okay, these are the ones that I use for heavy duty walking. I will take these with me on a trip, and these are the ones that I use to walk around our neighborhood when we go for walks, and if I'm going to be doing a lot of walking at Disney or whatever. They're both Asics, and this one's gel. I highly recommend Asics, but you got to try them on, because there's a lot of variation in Asics. These are Asics Gel Venture 9s. So I have both of these, and I use both. They have a really good tread. They're nice, comfortable, good shoes for walking. So those are the ones I use if I'm going to be walking a lot. Okay, so when you come in our house, there's the door to outside, there's the door to the garage, and then right here is where we leave our shoes. So this is this is an old Nike slip-on pair of slides that my son Andrew left behind when he moved out, that the kids used to, like, you know, run outside quick or something. All right, these are Ben's newest shoes. They're Brooks Glycerin. He loves them. Loves, loves, loves. He says they're like walking on a cloud. They feel very light. And Ben has huge feet. All my kids have huge feet. They're all in 11 or 11 and a half. It's got nice cushioning here at the back at the heel. And he says when he wears these, he feels like he should run. These are running shoes, and he says they're actually not great for walking because of that, because they make him feel like he should be running. You can kind of see the shape of the sole is why that is. But in my experience, most walking shoes that are actually considered for walking are ugly. So we tend to buy running shoes and use them for walking. Okay, Ben also has this slip-on pair of Adidas. This is the third or fourth pair he's had of these. He had a black pair, he had a white pair. He likes these for the airport. We really like to have a slip-on pair of shoes that we can slip on and off without having to tie for the airport. So he will use these for that. He also uses them, like, if he just doesn't feel like wearing those one day. Okay, these are the shoes that gave us the idea for this video. These are Megan's New Balance Fresh Foam shoes. She was wearing these in Washington, D.C. She wore these on her last trip. She wears them all the time. But these are the ones that the person saw in my video and asked about. And she wanted to know specifically how comfortable they were and how Megan's feet felt at the end of the day after walking all day in these. So I'll ask her that in a minute. Meg, tell us about your current pair of New Balance shoes, those pink ones.
So my current pair of New Balance shoes are pink. They are not as nice as my last pair. My last pair of shoes were just black and white Asics, and those were really, really nice. They're the best shoes I've ever had, which is why I actually got them twice in a row. When the first pair wore out, I sent Mom to hunt down the same pair, and she got it, and so I had, like, the same pair to wear for the next year. But eventually...
yeah, that's a good point. How often would you say, about once a year, would you replace
Yeah,
shoes?
I think once a year. They wear down pretty quickly, especially with Ben and I walking around at school, and the fact that we travel, of course. They do wear down quickly. I was a little disappointed with how quickly my current New Balance shoes are kind of wearing down.
Yeah, I noticed that just now.
Yeah, I walked around, like, once on, like, a grassy path, and they got all dirty. And I was able to clean them pretty well, but that was annoying because the bottoms are white, but I don't think I've ever had a white shoe get dirty that fast. And even with just general wear and tear, they're getting kind of worn. And also my shoelaces on those shoes are a different type than I would usually get. Usually I'd get, like, the round ones. These are the thin strip ones.
Like flat?
Like they're flat, yeah. And I don't like those, but I like the shoes, so I got them anyway. But when I tie and untie my shoes, those laces fray and they're falling apart, really. They've got all these little snags. And so I have to be careful with those, and now they don't look as nice.
So you've actually been looking, we need to go to an actual shoe store. We checked at Kohl's.
Yeah, Kohl's does not carry shoelaces.
So we have to go to an actual shoe store and see if we can find a replacement pair of shoelaces.
Just so I can...
So that's a good point, because that's something you might not consider when you're buying shoes, is that the shoelaces might not be great.
The other thing I'm a little disappointed about in these shoes compared to my last ones is the arch support is, like, there's less arch support. I noticed it when I was wearing in the shoes that I have now. I was actually having pains in my feet because I had to adjust to the new level of arch support, and they're just not as comfortable as my last pair of shoes.
So do you think you're going to want to get a new, different pair of shoes sooner?
Probably sooner than I would otherwise. Maybe not right away, but yeah.
When you bought those,
yes,
did they not have your favorite Asics pair again, or did you just not want to get the same ones again?
I think I didn't want to get the same ones again. I wanted something more colorful, so I didn't look as hard, but I still didn't see them. Like, I think they would have stuck out to me if they'd been there, the old pair.
Okay, specific to the question that our viewer asked, how were those for you in Washington, D.C.?
I think they were fine in Washington, D.C. Strangely enough, like, the adjustment to the arch support didn't kick in until after that trip. But no, I think they were okay.
Okay.
I don't remember experiencing any trouble walking in them in D.C.
You said that your feet hurt at the end of the day, though, but would you agree that
that's probably just general walking?
So yeah.
We were just walking.
So thank you, Megan, because that brings up a couple of really good points. I didn't think about, like, laces. She's right. The rounder laces are better. They hold up better, and they're easier to tie, and they stay tied better. Okay, so this is the other pair of New Balance that I have, the New Balance Roabs that I have that are just like the ones I'm wearing on my feet right now. These are black and gray. I like to wear black for traveling because it doesn't show stuff if you get something on you, and it's also slimming. But these are exactly like the ones I have on my feet. I ordered these specifically so I would have another pair for traveling, but I do also use them if I'm going to be going, like, to the store or to the mall, you know, somewhere where I'm going to have to walk around a little bit. And then these are Skechers Sports, pretty simple, pretty basic, also slip on. They have memory foam, and I wear these just to go run somewhere in the car. So if I'm just leaving the house quickly to go run somewhere in the car, I will slip these on to go outside. I don't wear these to walk a lot because they're very light and they don't have a ton of cushioning or arch support. So I don't necessarily recommend these if you have to do a lot of walking. Here's Ben's closet. He recently got a nice shoe rack because he was starting to get too many shoes. Ben, do you want to say anything about any of these shoes?
The white ones on top left are my tennis shoes.
Yep.
The black Nikes are my previous main pair of shoes. Both of the ones below those are just fun, like,
canvas
shoes that I randomly bought. The right ones are LL Bean, and the left ones are Stitch Fix. Then I have my new work shoes.
Oh yeah, because
they're just black.
For his job.
Under Armour shoes, and they do the job, and they look very scary there because they're just black.
Black.
And then I have my fancy shoes, and then I have sandals, which I never wear.
So here's the things that I would recommend overall that you want to look for in a good walking or running shoe that you want to be using as your main form of walking around. If you're going to a city, or you're going to Disney World or a theme park, or you're going someplace where you're going to be doing a lot of walking and you want to have very comfortable shoes. One thing is style and look is irrelevant. That's completely up to you. You know, I like stuff in fairly neutral colors, navy, blue, gray, just because it matches the most different colors of clothes. We also did learn that white shoes are obviously going to show dirt quicker, so the lighter your shoes are in color, the quicker that they're gonna get dirty. But I mean, most shoes can be washed even in the washing machine. The things that we always really look for though are a wide toe box, like I showed you, lots of cushioning in the sole, so either gel or foam or something. Now, shoe companies, as they explained to us at Scheels, have started to move that to the exterior looking sole, And we just think it looks weird. And also, like, look at Hoka's. You know how they have the big sole? We also think it makes it look like you're gonna fall over. Like you're gonna, like, be too teetery. And they say that it's not true, but I don't know. It still makes us kind of nervous. But you definitely want to have as much cushioning as possible. You have to try the shoes on. You have to. And you have to try them both on because sometimes your feet are different sizes. And you have to walk around a little bit. Tie them and walk around because you're not really going to get a good feel for how they are on your feet unless you do that. We also look for fit and like comfort around. Is anything rubbing? Is anything, you know, going to cause a blister? Is something too tight somewhere? And then the other thing we really look for is good arch support. You don't want your feet to be flat when you're walking. You want good arch support that's going to support your arches. And some shoes have them and some shoes don't. So you really need to try them on and check it out. And then lastly, you're going to kind of want to look at fabric. I mean, there's definitely different types of material that they use for shoes. And some are better in certain temperatures than others. For example, like if you have something like this that's more like a meshy weave, you know, I'm wearing these in the house, so it's fine. But I mean, something like this is better if it's a warmer climate and, you know, or drier. But you don't want something like this in the winter. Or you don't want anything like this if it's going to be really cold because your feet are going to get cold. Look at the tread. Look at the bottom of it and consider where you're going to be walking. Is it something really smooth that's going to end up being slippery, or does it have, you know, good gripping power or whatever? So these are some things that we take into consideration when we buy shoes. The one last thing I will say is you should not be just looking at price. Shoes need to fit you well and they need to be very comfortable. And then beyond that, they need to serve you in the purpose that you need them for. You know, do you need them to be able to slip on? Do you need them to be able to get wet? If you're in the shoe store and you're like, oh, well, these are $40 and these are $110, I'm going to get the $40 ones, but the $40 ones don't feel anywhere near as good as the $110. Well, you might want to reconsider that, okay? Good shoes can be expensive. Ben's last pair of Brooks we got from Scheels, I think they were on sale, but they were still $160. That's not a surprising amount for shoes to me anymore. If we spend less than $100 on a pair of shoes, we consider that like, yay, because they were on sale at Kohl's or something. Talking about brands, you've heard us mention a few brands. Brooks, New Balance, Skechers, Asics. You might not have noticed I didn't mention Nike. Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. Ben has had, I think, all of them. We've all had Nikes in the past. We just don't find that Nike tend to do as well over the long term. They might feel really comfortable when you first try them on, but they don't like last as long. I think the same is true for Under Armour and Adidas. They might look cool, but they don't necessarily feel as good or last as long. Another thing from what Megan was saying, I don't think it matters how good your shoe is. If you are walking way more than you would normally be walking at home, you know, like maybe you take 4,000 steps a day when you're home every day. But when you're walking on a trip, you walk 10 miles in one day like you do at Disney World. It doesn't matter how good your shoes are. Your feet are going to hurt. That's just true for anyone. If you walk an enormous amount of steps in a day relative to what your feet are used to walking in a day, your feet are going to hurt. Now, you will notice that when you go on a trip like to Disney or some European city or something, maybe the first day they hurt really a lot, but then you kind of adjust to it and maybe they'll hurt less at the end of the day each subsequent day, for example. It can also go the other way though. Maybe they didn't hurt at first, but then as you walk more, maybe they hurt more in subsequent days. The best things you can do if your feet really hurt at the end of a travel day are to elevate them. So basically going to bed is going to be like restore your feet. The other thing you can do is take like an, you know, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, Tylenol, ibuprofen, something like that can help. The other thing that will feel really nice is if you or someone else can rub your feet. That can really help with the, you know, the feeling of pain in your feet. I would recommend washing your feet or taking a shower before you try to rub your feet if you've been on them all day because they're probably going to be kind of sweaty. And then the last thing I would recommend is you can soak your feet. Soaking your feet, even in like just cool water or even a little bit of ice, if they're really, really sore at the end of a day, can really help with pain in your feet from a lot of walking. That brings up a point, though, that it's a really good idea before you go on a trip that you're going to be doing a lot of walking to get used to walking a lot, especially if you're taking your kids and they're not used to it, that, you know, they're younger, or if you are older and don't usually walk a lot or something, you need to get in the habit of walking more before you go on a trip where you're going to have to do a lot of walking. That can make a big difference in how your feet feel on the trip overall. Get your body used to what you're going to be doing on the trip ahead of time. I hope that this was a helpful video to you. This was a very simple concept, but a very practical video, I think, that a lot of people don't give a lot of thought to, which is your feet and your shoes and wearing the appropriate footwear when you travel. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give us a thumbs up. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any of our upcoming travel videos with lots of helpful travel tips, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Have a great day, everyone, and safe travels!